There is a dog sleeping at the foot of someone's bed right now, maybe yours, and if you stop to think about it, really think about it, that is one of the strangest things that has ever happened on this planet, because that animal, the one that follows you to the bathroom and stares at you while you eat, is a wolf, a direct descendant of one of the most efficient predators evolution ever produced. An apex hunter, a creature built to tear apart living things in packs, in the dark, in the cold, and somehow, it ended up curled beside a human, under a blanket, dreaming about you. How did that happen? You've probably heard the simple answer: humans domesticated wolves, they tamed them, they bred them selectively over thousands of years until they became obedient companions. That's the story most people accept, but the real answer is far stranger, because wolves may not have been domesticated by humans at all, they may have domesticated themselves. Here's what the evidence actually shows, and once you see it, you can't look at your dog the same way again. Go back roughly 15,000 years. Some researchers push this closer to 40,000 years, but the most heavily supported genetic evidence, including work by evolutionary biologist Gregor Larson at Oxford, points to a domestication window somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, possibly happening more than once. In more than one place, your ancestors were not farmers yet. They were hunter-gatherers, moving in small bands across vast landscapes, following prey, leaving behind waste, and that waste mattered more than anyone realized. When a group of humans camps somewhere for days or weeks, they leave behind something valuable: scraps, bones, discarded food, half-eaten carcasses, fire-softened fat. Calorie-dense refuse that most animals couldn't safely approach, because humans were dangerous. But wolves are not most animals now. Most wolves in that era would have avoided humans entirely. They were smart enough to know the risk, but within any wolf population, there is variation. Some individuals are bolder, some are more tolerant of proximity to threats. Some can regulate their fear response better than others. These were not better hunters, they were not stronger or faster, but they had one trait that suddenly became an enormous survival advantage. They could stand being near humans. These wolves edged closer to campsites. They learned the rhythm of human activity. They discovered that the edge of the firelight, the perimeter of the camp, was a place where food appeared without requiring a full hunt. They were eating more, using less energy, surviving winters that killed their more skittish cousins. And here is the key thing: humans didn't choose this. They didn't look at a wolf and think, "I'll make a pet out of that." They may not have noticed it happening at all. What was happening was natural selection operating in real time. The wolves that could tolerate humans were outcompeting the ones that couldn't. Generation after generation, the calm ones survived, the fearful ones did not. Brian Hare, an evolutionary anthropologist at Duke University, describes this as self-domestication. The animal doesn't need a human breeder selecting traits, the environment itself selects them. The same process, Hare argues, happened to bonobos. It may have shaped early human social behavior. In the case of wolves, the environment doing the selecting was the edge of your ancestors' campfire, but something else was happening too, something even more remarkable. As these wolves became less afraid of humans, they also began to change physically. This is one of the most astonishing parts of the story. Researcher Dmitri Belyaev, working in Siberia in the 1950s, ran a famous decades-long experiment with silver foxes he selected only for tameness, nothing else, and bred generation after generation of foxes that were less afraid of humans. Within 40 generations, the foxes had changed not just in behavior but in body: floppy ears, spotted coats, curly tails, shortened snouts. They began to look, and even act, like domesticated dogs. Belyaev called this domestication syndrome, and his work suggests that selecting for reduced fear response triggers a cascade of other changes throughout the animal's development, affecting hormones, pigmentation, bone structure, even timing of maturation. The same thing was happening to your dog's ancestors. Each generation of campfire wolves became calmer and more human tolerant. Their bodies were shifting, their skulls became slightly rounder, their snouts shortened, their eyes widened, their ears, in many lineages, began to drop, and something happened to their faces that would prove to be the most important change of all: they developed the ability to read you. This is not a metaphor. Dogs have a muscle above their eyes, the levator anguli oculi medialis, that wolves do not have, or rather, that wolves have only weakly. This muscle allows dogs to raise their inner eyebrow, creating the expression you see when a dog looks at you with what feels unmistakably like sorrow or longing. Research by evolutionary psychologist Julianne Kaminsky at the University of Portsmouth found that dogs make this facial movement significantly more when humans are watching them. Wolves do not. The muscle appears to have evolved specifically to communicate with humans, to trigger the caregiving instinct in you, to make you want to feed and protect them. Your dog's sad eyes are not accidental. are, in a deep evolutionary sense, a tool, one that was shaped by thousands of years of living alongside people who responded to that expression by giving food. By the time humans figured out they could actively breed these animals for specific traits, guarding, herding, hunting, tracking, the animals were already fundamentally different from their wolf ancestors. The third part, the improbable part, had already happened not because a human planned it, because a small number of brave or reckless or simply less fearful wolves edged close enough to a fire one night and found something worth staying for, and then the relationship began to change in the other direction too, because it wasn't only wolves that benefited from this arrangement. About what a group of humans suddenly had, living at the edge of their camp, that no human group had possessed before: early warning systems, animals that could smell, hear, and sense approach from distances and in conditions no human could match. The wolves that stayed near camp were also, in effect, an alarm system, a predator deterrent. A way of knowing that something was moving in the dark before it reached the firelight. There is also growing archaeological evidence that these early dogs helped humans hunt not in the trained, command-following way of modern hunting dogs, but by naturally tracking prey and driving animals in ways that benefited both species. The dog chased something and benefited from the kill. Human benefited from the chase. Two predators, operating on the same landscape, finding that their strengths complemented each other's weaknesses. No contract was signed, no decision was made, it simply worked. What you were left with, when you trace this all the way through, is a partnership so deep and so old that it may have shaped human civilization itself. Researchers have